There were 9 people at the table that night, and not one of them looked at me when my father raised his glass to my brother. He called Nathan the future of the family. He called the project brilliant. My sister kept filming for TikTok. 2 local investors smiled like they were already inside the deal. I sat at the far end with my hands around a cold glass of water. Then my father finally turned to me. He laughed and said I was still living in my childhood bedroom with a laptop and no real income. Everyone heard it. No one stopped him. Nathan did not defend me. He just straightened his tie and nodded like the room already belonged to him. That should have been the worst part. It was not. One of the investors tapped the slide deck and asked Nathan to explain the validation model on page 6. Nathan looked down at the screen. Then he looked at me. Just for 2 seconds. Long enough for my stomach to turn. Long enough for me to know he had no idea what he was presenting. I said nothing. That was the moment I stopped pretending I did not understand what they were doing. I stayed in my chair until the investors left and my sister stopped recording. Then I carried my glass to the sink, walked upstairs, and shut my bedroom door without making a sound. My room looked the same as it had 3 years earlier. Books stacked by the wall. A thrift store desk. My old conference stickers peeling off the corner of my laptop. Downstairs, I could still hear my father laughing like the deal was already done. I opened the original project folder. There it was. A small comment buried in the draft history, written by me months earlier when I was too tired to think about anything except survival. Read the owner log. Only 4 words. I stared at them until my hands stopped shaking. That comment changed everything, though I did not understand all of it yet. I only knew one thing with absolute clarity. Nathan had not frozen because he was nervous. He had frozen because the slide deck was never his to explain. Before I show you what was hiding in that file, do me a quick favor. Like this video. Subscribe. And tell me your city in the comments. Then stay with me. Because what happened after I left that house proved something ugly. They did not miss me. They missed access. My name is Lena Wren. I am 26 years old. I live in Roswell, Georgia. I work as a research assistant and a freelance academic editor. And right now, I am telling you this because my family loved my mind most when my name was nowhere on it. I was the daughter people forgot while using every skill I had. Nathan was the son everyone introduced with pride. My father called him driven. My mother called him promising. My sister called him proof that our family was going somewhere. When relatives visited on Sundays, my father would point Nathan toward the living room and point me toward the kitchen. One child was an investment. The other was labor with good manners. I learned to hear the difference in his voice before I learned to say it out loud. That was the family order of things. They called me difficult, quiet, too educated for my own good. What that really meant was simple. I wrote what they could not. I fixed what they broke. I made them sound polished, prepared, and smarter than they were. Then I watched them walk into rooms wearing my work like it had grown out of their own hands. I wrote discussion posts for Nathan when grad school got hard. I shaped his thesis chapters when deadlines closed in. I wrote brand scripts for my sister when she wanted to sound thoughtful online. I cleaned up market reports for my father before meetings he liked to call strategy dinners. Outside the house, they talked about me like I was stalled. Inside the house, they lived off the machine they pretended not to see. My old silver laptop sat on a thrift store desk under a narrow window. The conference stickers were peeling. The charger sparked if I bent it wrong. That laptop looked tired. So did I. Still, every polished sentence in that house passed through me first. I knew I was being used. I knew it long before that dinner. But knowing a thing and facing it are different. One helps you survive. The other forces you to leave. 3 days after that dinner, I found the email that ended whatever denial I still had left. It came in at 6:12 in the morning while I was answering messages for the lab. The sender line showed my father. The subject line read Investor Packet Final. I clicked before I could think. The deck opened on my screen. My deck. Not a rough outline. Not a recycled note. The full project. The learning model. the market research, the pilot data summary, the teacher retention section I had rebuilt twice. Even the phrasing in the executive summary was mine. I knew because I still remembered where I had cut 12 words from one paragraph to make the rhythm cleaner. Only one thing was different. Nathan Wren appeared on the title page as founder and lead architect. I read that line once. Then again. My mouth went dry. I kept scrolling because some part of me was still stupid enough to hope there would be a second page with my name. There was no second page like that. There was only Nathan. Nathan in the footer. Nathan in the bio. Nathan in the short speaker note for the investor call on Friday. I printed the whole deck in black and white. The printer downstairs jammed twice. I fixed it both times. That felt fitting. When my father came into the kitchen, I set the stack on the table between us. He looked at the pages. Then he looked at me. No guilt. No panic. Just annoyance that I had interrupted his coffee. My father tapped the cover page with one finger and said this was how serious families operated. Quiet people did the work. Visible people closed the deal. I asked him why my work was under Nathan's name. He did not lower his voice. He said families build together. He said names are just presentation. He said Nathan had the face for investors, and I needed to stop making everything emotional. Nathan walked in halfway through that sentence and froze when he saw the packet. I turned to him and asked one thing. Did you tell them you built this? He rubbed his jaw and stared at the counter. Then he said everyone had contributed. My sister came in next. She heard enough to understand the shape of it and still chose the same side. She told me not to ruin the biggest opportunity our family had ever had. That was the moment the lie became clean. Not messy. Not confused. Clean. They knew whose work it was. They knew I knew. And they were still asking me to stay quiet so my brother could wear my mind in public. That night I did not yell. I did not cry. I did not go upstairs and slam a door. I waited until everyone sat down again. Then I carried the printed deck back to the dining table and placed it in front of Nathan. Read page 6. He leaned back in his chair and gave me the same small smile he used when he wanted other people to think I was overreacting. I am not reading all that. It is simple. I looked at him and kept my voice flat. If it is simple, read it. My father exhaled hard through his nose like I was embarrassing him in front of the family. My sister folded her arms and stared at me like I was about to ruin her weekend. Nathan flipped one page. Then another. He cleared his throat and started talking in circles about the mission, the market, the future, anything except the actual model on the page. I stopped him. No. Read the validation section. He glanced at my father. That was all I needed to see. My father reached for the packet and tried to take control of the room the way he always did. He said I was turning a family conversation into an interrogation. He said everyone in the house had sacrificed for this project. He said Nathan understood the vision and that was what mattered. So I asked a smaller question. Who built the teacher retention model? Nathan rubbed the back of his neck. My sister looked down at the table. My father answered for him before he could open his mouth. We all contributed. I nodded once. Then I asked Nathan what dataset he had used for the pilot assumptions. Silence. He guessed wrong. Not a little wrong. Fully wrong. He named a public data source I had rejected 2 months earlier because the sample was too broad and the reporting lag made the forecast worthless. He did not know that because he had never built the model. He had only watched me do it from across a room. My father cut in fast. He said the technical language could always be cleaned up later. He said investors cared about leadership, confidence, and story. He said people like Nathan were meant to stand in front while people like me got lost in details. There it was. Not confusion. Not stress. Not a misunderstanding. The truth. That was the first crack in the story they kept calling family. In my family, I was good enough to build the thing. Just never good enough to own it. The next morning, my father moved fast. By breakfast, the story had already changed. I was no longer the daughter asking a fair question. I was the unstable one. The jealous one. The reason tension had entered a house that was supposedly trying to build something important. He made 3 phone calls before noon. I know because I heard him from the hall. To my aunt in Marietta. To a pastor he liked when he needed moral language. To one of the investors from dinner. His voice stayed calm in every call. That was his talent. He never sounded cruel. He sounded reasonable. That was worse. Nathan followed his lead. He stopped arguing facts and started hiding behind tone. He told people I was brilliant but difficult. He said I got attached to drafts and forgot the bigger picture. My sister posted a smiling video about family sacrifice and shared dreams. She never said my name. She did not need to. In that house, omission was its own weapon. Then they shifted from social control to procedural control. Folders were renamed. Shared files were moved. A few permissions changed just enough to send a message. Not enough to block me fully. Just enough to remind me that they thought access was power. They still did not understand the difference between access and ownership. That Friday, Nathan had a closed rehearsal with a retired superintendent and a consultant my father respected. I was not invited. I listened from the hallway outside the den because the door never latched right in that house. The consultant asked Nathan a clean question. How did you validate your retention assumptions across districts? Nathan paused. Then he answered with the same confidence he used when he did not know something and expected the room to carry him anyway. He mixed up the pilot group with the benchmark group. Then he cited the wrong review window. Then he used the word longitudinal like it could save him by itself. The consultant stopped him. He said, that is not what your slide says. I closed my eyes for 1 second. There it was again. Another crack. Small. Precise. Real. My father stepped in before Nathan could drown. He thanked the consultant, said the technical appendix was still being cleaned up, and moved the room toward vision, leadership, and market timing. He always did that when the truth got too specific. That afternoon, I opened my email and saw the one message that did not ask me to shrink. Full tuition scholarship. Durham, North Carolina. I read it once. Then again. Downstairs, my family was still trying to decide how to keep my work and erase my name. Upstairs, for the first time in years, a door had opened that belonged only to me. I accepted the scholarship before I let myself feel afraid. That was the cleanest decision I had made in years. No debate. No family meeting. No final appeal to people who had already shown me exactly what I was worth to them. I signed the forms from my bedroom floor with my laptop balanced on a cardboard storage box. Then I started leaving in silence. I did not announce a moving date. I did not post anything online. I did not tell my father that Durham was 9 hours away by car and far enough for his voice to lose its grip on me. I just made lists and moved through them one line at a time. Books. Cables. Research notes. Winter clothes. Tax records. External drives. The strange thing about preparing to leave a house like that is how normal everything looks while it is ending. My mother still asked whether I wanted eggs in the morning. My sister still filmed brand deals in the kitchen with the ring light blocking the fruit bowl. Nathan still walked around rehearsing sentences that sounded impressive until someone asked what they meant. 3 nights after the scholarship email, my father came to my door without knocking. He stood in the frame with one hand in his pocket and looked around my room like he was inspecting a property he already owned. You need to calm down before Friday, he said. I kept folding sweaters into a duffel bag. He told me investors did not like instability. He told me Nathan was under pressure. He told me a good daughter would stop making this personal when the family was so close to something significant. Then he looked at my desk and asked whether I had finished cleaning up the technical appendix. That was the whole sentence. Not how are you? Not what do you want? Not are you sleeping? Had I finished the appendix? He stared at me for a second, like the answer itself was disrespect. Then he reminded me that everyone in the house had made sacrifices for me over the years. He listed groceries, rent, car insurance. The old script every controlling parent keeps ready for the moment gratitude must be weaponized. I let him finish. Then I said something I had never said to him before. My work is not something this family gets to use on demand. He went still. Not angry. Not loud. Just still in that way powerful men do when they realize a door has closed and they were not the one who closed it. He told me I was being dramatic. He told me no one was stealing from me. He told me I would regret becoming the kind of woman who turned her back on her own blood for the sake of pride. I zipped the duffel bag. The next morning, 3 shared folders had been renamed. One had been moved. Another had new permissions. The signal was obvious. If I wanted to make ownership into a question, they would make access into a battlefield. Now it clarified everything. So I spent the rest of that day doing what they had never bothered to learn how to do. I documented my work. I separated personal drafts from household files. I exported version histories. I archived comment threads. I saved time-stamped copies of every stage of the project. I downloaded submission receipts tied to my institutional account. I built a private record while the house around me kept pretending the future still belonged to Nathan. I did not touch anything that was not mine. Because truth is stronger when it stays clean. On Monday morning, I loaded my car before sunrise. 2 suitcases. 1 laundry basket full of books. My old silver laptop inside a padded tote bag. A lamp I had bought at a thrift store for $12. 3 mugs wrapped in towels. Everything I owned. Fit inside a used Honda Civic with room left over in the back seat. My mother came outside in slippers and a robe. For 1 second, I thought she might say something real. Something that sounded like a mother watching her daughter leave home with too much pain and not enough sleep. Instead, she asked if I had shared the latest budget sheet with Nathan. I looked at her across the driveway. That was the moment something inside me stopped reaching. The drive to Durham felt longer than the map promised. Georgia gave way to South Carolina, then North Carolina, then miles of road where no one knew my last name or what role I had played in that house. I stopped twice for gas and once for coffee I barely tasted. Every hour put more distance between me and the dining room where my father had taught everyone that visibility mattered more than authorship. By the time I reached campus housing, my phone battery was almost dead and my shoulders felt carved out of stone. My apartment was small. 1 bedroom. Beige carpet. White walls. A narrow window facing the parking lot. The air conditioner rattled every time it turned on. It was not impressive. It was not curated. It was not the kind of place anyone in my family would have called success. It was mine. For the first time, every object in that room answered only to me. That first week, I moved through orientation during the day and through grief at night. I learned building numbers, parking rules, lab access procedures, which coffee shop stayed open late, which staircase in the library was quietest after 7. I answered polite questions from new classmates and noticed how strange it felt to introduce myself without apologizing for existing. No one there knew me as the girl who could fix things fast. They just knew my name. The messages from home started on the 4th day. At first, they came soft. Nathan asking whether I had seen a missing source file. My sister wondering if a login problem on the shared drive was temporary. My mother asking if I had meant to disable an old document link. All 3 messages carried the same lie. They were casual, practical, almost warm. None of them asked how my apartment was. None asked whether I had arrived safely. None asked if the scholarship orientation had gone well. Only files, links, logins. By the end of the week, the tone changed. Nathan said investors needed updated numbers immediately. My sister said I was being petty. My mother said the family was confused and hurt. My father did not text at all. He sent 1 email with the subject line responsibility. Inside, he wrote 5 sentences. You know what is at stake. Stop withholding materials that affect everyone. Nathan has meetings scheduled. We will discuss your attitude when you come home. Do the right thing. I stared at that email in the campus library until the words blurred. Then I archived it. That was my answer. Over the next 10 days, the pattern hardened. They did not miss me. They missed output. They missed clean language and organized folders and someone catching mistakes before outsiders could see them. They missed having a private engine they could shame in the kitchen and rely on in the dark. I let the messages arrive so I could see the truth without interruption. Deadline tomorrow. Where is the revised chart? Call me now. Why are 2 permissions revoked? Investors are asking questions. This is bigger than you. Stop punishing the family. Not one message asked if I had eaten. Not one asked if I was sleeping. Not one asked whether I was lonely in a new state with no furniture beyond a mattress, 1 chair, and a thrift store lamp that leaned slightly to the left. I learned more from those messages than I had learned from years inside that house. I had not left love. I had left a machine. And machines do not miss you. They fail when power is cut. 2 weeks into the semester, my father changed tactics. When guilt stopped working, he reached for image. He announced a public showcase in Roswell for the education platform. A founder talk. A private investor dinner. A local feature piece. Nathan would present the vision. My sister would handle media. My father would stand beside him as the steady parent who had held the family together through conflict. Then came the message meant for me. My mother sent it. Your father wants peace. Nathan wants to make things right. Please come. Home for one night. Just be there. No one wants a scene. I read that text 3 times. No one wants a scene. That was the lie inside every family performance. They wanted silence when silence served them. They wanted appearance when appearance paid. They wanted me in the room for one reason only. To make their story look complete. I did not reply. Instead, I opened the archive I had built in Durham. Every draft. Every comment thread. Every export receipt. Every version history. Every institutional timestamp. Every ownership log tied to my account. The record was calm. Clean. Chronological. It did not need anger. It only needed sequence. I spent 2 nights organizing it into one evidence packet. Not for social media. Not for revenge. For due diligence. That mattered. Because the point was never to embarrass Nathan in public. The point was to stop investors from being lied to with my work under another person's name. I sent the packet to a small business attorney connected to the graduate program legal clinic. She reviewed the structure, removed anything unnecessary, and told me the same thing I had already learned in that house. Facts land harder when they are organized, not screamed. The event was scheduled for a Thursday evening at a co-working space near Canton Street. My sister posted a polished teaser that morning. Nathan in a navy jacket. My father with one hand on his shoulder. Soft music. Warm lighting. A caption about vision, sacrifice, and building a better future for students. I watched it once without sound. Then I emailed the final packet to the legal reviewer listed in the investor materials, with copies to the attorney and one managing partner whose address I had from earlier drafts. Subject line. Documentation regarding authorship and ownership history for the Ren learning model. No accusation. No speech. Just documentation. At 6:40 that evening, while I sat in my apartment eating grocery store soup out of a paper bowl, my phone lit up with a message from my sister. Why would you do this tonight? I set the spoon down. So the packet had been opened. A minute later, Nathan called. I let it ring. Then my father called. Then again. Then my mother. I turned the phone face down on the table. Later, through the attorney, I learned how the room changed. Nathan had started well enough. Big language. Clean slides. A story about mission, access, and underserved districts. My father spoke after him about family values and the discipline it took to keep believing in young people. Then someone from the investment side asked for a pause before moving forward. The legal reviewer had received my packet. My father smiled and said, of course. If there is any confusion, open it now and clear it up. That was the line. That was the moment he triggered the thing he had been trying to outrun from the start. The reviewer opened the packet in front of everyone. Page by page, the structure spoke. Original draft timelines. Tracked comments in my name. Export receipts from my account. Ownership logs for the project folder. Submission history attached to my university credentials. A side-by-side comparison showing that the model Nathan was presenting matched the file path and revision trail I had preserved before leaving Georgia. No one raised their voice. They did not need to. One investor asked Nathan a single question. "Did you author this model?" Nathan looked at my father first. That told them everything. My father tried to move the room back toward collaboration. He used words like family effort, internal misunderstanding, and evolving materials. But once structure enters a room, performance loses oxygen. The managing partner ended the meeting for review. No commitment. No dinner close. No celebratory photos. Just review. And the room never recovered again. Before midnight, my father sent me one email. "How dare you do this to your own family?" I answered with one sentence. I did not betray my family. I stopped letting my mind finance a lie. After that, I closed the laptop and let the silence stand. The fallout did not explode in one clean moment. It spread the way truth spreads. First came the pause. Then canceled calls. Then emails nobody answered. By Monday morning, the investor dinner was gone from the co-working space calendar. My sister's teaser vanished. Nathan's headshot disappeared from the landing page built in the garage at my parents' house. No one posted congratulations. No one used the word launch again. My father tried to contain it with language. He told people the project was under review. He said there had been an internal dispute over drafts. He said all of that because he could not say the real thing. They had built a pitch on work that was never theirs to rename. Nathan broke first. He sent long messages with half apologies and soft blame. He said Dad pushed him to lead. He said he thought my name could be added later after the first round closed. Even then, he still wrote like ownership was a scheduling issue and not the center of the betrayal. I did not answer. By the next day, Nathan was blaming my father for pushing him to stand in front of work he did not build. My father responded the way he always did. Fast. Clean. He started telling people Nathan had ruined everything by speaking on work he did not understand. My sister called crying because people in her comments were asking why the family education project had gone quiet. She wanted a statement. A clean line. Something she could post that would calm the noise without naming me directly. Even now, she wanted copy. My mother left one voicemail. She said the house felt strange. She said no one was sleeping well. Then her voice changed and the old training came back. She asked if I could tell everyone this had gone too far on both sides. Both sides. That phrase told me everything. A month later, the attorney told me the review had ended. No investment. No partnership. No follow-up meetings. The packet had done exactly what it needed to do. It had not ruined an honest opportunity. It had stopped a dishonest one from getting paid. That distinction mattered. I was not trying to burn down the future. I was refusing to let my future be worn by people who had mocked me and borrowed my mind in public. By November, campus felt less temporary. I had 2 close friends in the program. A routine that belonged to my name. I graded papers. Worked in the lab. Slept more. Flinched less. Sometimes healing is not dramatic. Sometimes it is just your nervous system learning that no one is about to call your labor love and your erasure family. Then came the award ceremony. It was held in a lecture hall with bad coffee and folding programs that smudged blue ink onto my fingers. Nothing glamorous. Just faculty, students, parents. When they called my name, I stood and walked to the stage in a black dress I had bought on clearance and hemmed myself the night before. The screen behind me showed the title of my research. Under it was one line. Lena Wren. No ghost credit. No hidden file path. No brother in front of me holding a microphone. No father rephrasing what I had built into something easier for a room to admire. Just my name. I used to think boundaries were cruel because that is how controlling families teach you to see them. Then I learned the truth. Boundaries are not punishment. They are clarity. They show you who loved you and who only used what you could do. I did not cut off my family to hurt them. I stepped out of the role they had assigned me so I could hear my own voice without their story on top of it. Now I have a question for you. What would you have done when the packet was opened? Stayed silent to protect the family name, or let the record speak for itself? Tell me in the comments. The truth sounds cold when a lie was living off it.